Thank you, Annie. Hi, I'm Cathy Tanimura. I'm Senior Director of Analytics and Data Science here at Strava, and I'm going to talk to you about how data, scale, and community allows us to make a really outsized impact. So a little bit about me. I'm a big data geek. Didn't used to be a cool thing to say, but I feel like I'm in good company here. So I've had a chance to work on some really interesting data sets across my career. I was at StubHub, where I got to work on sports and concert ticket data sets. I was at Zynga, working on games, social interactions, Lonely Cows, if you remember those. I moved to a company called Okta, worked on a lot of security, B2B app marketplace sort of data, and now I'm at Strava, where I've been for the last year or so. So I get a lot of questions, why Strava? So in addition to the culture and the people, which I love, for me, it's really about the data. So let me tell you about the data. In this whole kind of like big data space, there's kind of 3 V's that we talk about, so I'll just walk through them. First is the volume, so how much data do you have? As Steph mentioned, we have 38 million members, we've had over 2 billion uploads, 6.7 billion miles of activities in 2018 alone, that's a lot of sweat, and over 90 million social interactions per week. Second V, velocity. There's a lot going on. We have about 20 uploads per second. We are a global community, which means it's always time for a preferred activity somewhere. We'd like to call them preferred activities if you don't know what that is. We support almost 40 of them, everything from alpine skiing to yoga, in addition to cycling and running, of course. And finally, variety, and this was what really sold Strava for me. With our global community of athletes doing lots of activities, we have all sorts of different data sets kind of within the broader scope. So geospatial, longitudinal, people training over time, social, global, as I mentioned a few times. We have in-app interactions to look at. We have a subscriptions business. We have platform integrations, health and fitness. But most of all, the data is really about people doing what they love, following their passions, striving toward the goals that really motivate them. And that's just a really kind of cool, interesting data set to work with. So, and we do all this with a relatively small team. So I'm going to walk you through a few examples of the impact that we've made so far and things we're thinking about. So first I want to talk to you about motivation and some of the work our analytics team has done in this space. So we've been able to do some really interesting work thinking about how and when, let me say, so one of the things we found in all of this, technology space, there's a lot of devices, there's a lot of apps, but what really motivates people is the people. So it's the people that you connect with, it's the people who support you, it's the people who motivate you to get out of bed in the morning. So we've been able to do some really interesting work around this. A few findings we've had, people who do activities with other people spend more time doing them. They also go further. So having somebody there with you helps you go for that longer run, get out of bed in the morning when it's cold and you might not feel like doing that. The next impact I want to talk about is inside of our walls in our core engineering. So I want to tell you a little story about Strava segment leaderboards. And for those of you who aren't as familiar, let me give you a quick intro to them. We have these things called Strava Segments. They're member-created portions of road or trail where athletes can compete for time. So you do an activity. This is an example of mine where there's a segment that's a portion of Golden Gate Park where I like to ride. When you upload your activity, we calculate the amount of time it takes you to cross that space. An activity can have multiple segments. So I ride from here to my home in the outer Richmond. I cross lots of different segments. We calculate your time for all of those when you upload. I should mention we have over 15 million segments all over the world, tens of billions of efforts across all of those segments. So it's quite a lot of data. And then we place that effort onto a leaderboard. We do this while you're uploading. People like to go upload, then go check their placement on that leaderboard. I'm not particularly fast, but it's still fun to see how I stack up. I tend to go to the most finely sliced leaderboard where I might actually show up more than 1,000. But it's quite an honor to be in the top of the list. And if you are top of, number one, you get to be the kind of king or queen of the mountain. And it's quite an honor. So this all works great. This has been like a really important feature that people love. And it's all well and good until we get an event like Ride London. So for those of you who don't know, Ride London is a huge cycling festival put on by the City of London. It has a number of different events. It has some pro events. It has some amateur events. Tens of thousands of people compete across these events. Lots of them are Strava athletes, which is fantastic. And they do their activities, and they upload, and they go to check their leaderboards. And this reliably brought down Strava for a number of years. Not a great place to be. And so some of our engineers decided to go and fix this problem. So just for some history on how this feature was implemented, way back in the day, this was one of the original Strava features. SQL queries were how they were built. I love SQL queries. I'm a data geek, but these don't really scale. From there, we moved into an architecture leveraging Redis and Scala, which worked for a while, but ended up with some hotspots, outages, when we got lots of people uploading at the same time, like an event like Ride London. So the work was done to move it to a more modern architecture where we're using Kafka for streaming and Cassandra for the data storage behind the leaderboards. So at our scale, we really needed to have an architecture that could support thousands of data points per second, across tens of billions of data points. And we have a whole series of posts on our engineering blog, which I'll encourage you to go check out if you're interested. And this was such a big accomplishment that even our marketing team got excited about it and made a public announcement. Hey, Strava stayed up. We had 15,000 people uploading from Ride London in 2017. Also stayed up in 2018, which was fantastic. And then the final area of impact I want to talk about is around discovery. So this idea of, we know all these segments, we know all these places in the world people are active. How can we help people discover them? How can we help people stay motivated to go somewhere new, to do something fresh? So we've done some various data science projects around this. We've become sort of well known for a kind of classic Strava heat map. You can see where people are riding and running in the world. One of my goals this year was to do some open water swimming, and I was very excited to find that Strava heat maps works for swimming too. A lot of swimming going on in the bay. It's been pretty cold out lately. Does anybody notice that? Not really when I want to jump in aquatic park. So how about Hawaii? I know that Waikiki Diamond Head area looks a lot more appealing at this time of year. We think, this is great, but how can we push this further? How can we help people really find specific routes in the world, places to go that are new, that are different, that have the right profile of trail, things that they're looking for. And then beyond that, into workouts, into devices, even into the kind of virtual workout space like Zwift, all sorts of interesting opportunities in this space, so stay tuned. So just to wrap it up, talked about kind of our data, our scale, our community, and how we really think this work allows us to make an impact on our athletes, our partners, our communities, and our teammates really every day, which has been super exciting for me. Thank you.